Hi, I want to talk to you today about can you overcome your anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress and or your traumatic stress on your own. And I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, emotional wellness coach, and a practitioner mentor. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And the brain has a beautiful process for this that sometimes gets stopped, blocked, or interrupted. And so, this is the process that is natural and native to the brain that heals and resolves these issues and also helps you thrive, adapt, and heal and overcome in life. And I specialize in getting that up and running when it's not functioning well. So I want to talk about this topic because it's important. It's uh, I want you to. I am always inspiring people to do their own healing work, and there are some truths in this space here. With can you do your own healing work? Can you resolve your own disorder? That I want to talk about from my own perspective in my own personal healing journey, and also as I've helped hundreds of people walk through healing and recreating a life with higher brain function and higher emotional wellness and greater emotional intelligence, helping them reach goals, helping them heal their relationships. And so there is a lot of truths here, and let's dive in. My answer here is not simple, but it is kind of simple. But there's a complexity here that I want to outline for you. Um, Based on neuroscience and interpersonal neurobiology and all the fun things, neuroplasticity. And I'm going to weave all that stuff together and share it to you from my perspective, which is the actual art of healing, like do it, reprogram the brain, help the brain rewire. And the answer here is multifaceted. I'm going to talk about three different layers of healing work, and in each one of those, the answer is different. And so, can you overcome your anxiety, depression, and trauma disorder by your own? Yes. By yourself? Yes. On your own? Yes. And it and it all depends. Okay. So, one of the layers here that I want to talk about is the intrapersonal dysfunction of anxiety, depression, and trauma disorders. That is how your own inner world functions, how your mind body system is utilizing your emotional and mental energy. And so there are many areas with that. There are many reasons why people can have anxiety, depression, or trauma disorders. Some of them are chemical, some of them are physical. Their life isn't working right, their actual reality isn't working right. And we can't fix that by there's that actually needs a very specific intervention. Like if you're surrounded with people that your environment is supporting and helping you create depression, that actually is going to be something that needs to change. Your brain actually needs to do that work, but it's very specific work. Um, and there are emotional causes to this. So the chemical stuff is not my area. I will gossip with you right now and tell you there's a ton of reasons why vitamins and mineral deficiencies contribute to creating mental these disorders. That is something you could resolve on yourself if you know how to do that. But you can work with a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor or some people that like this work. If they're a doctor that doesn't like this work, please don't make them do that work. You're probably not going to get great results. Um, so the physical work, the environmental stuff, I'm going to talk about that here as well. But how your system uses emotions and the emotional energy can be the root cause of your entire disorder. And that is absolutely something you can do on your own. And that's something that you will need to be the one that does the most amount of work on that as you can and as you're healing. And so that's something I have clients take full responsibility of, even though I'm going to totally partner with them while they're building their skills and working on this. But this stuff is the biggest layer of trauma disorder, of anxiety, depression, and trauma disorders, and it requires the least amount of skill. We're actually just working with the survival system to shift out of survival mode into healing and thriving, right? That's an inside job that the brain responds to incredibly well when people are doing this for themselves. That layer of this work you can absolutely do, and you'll need to do. This is your brain is responsible for helping you navigate the world well, to be adaptive to life, flexible, creative, and to be in response to. And you can know how your brain is doing with that by the emotions that are moving. If the emotions are positive, your brain is saying, "Oh, I like this. I got this. Look at my mastery." Right? If the emotions, as your brain is trying to create ways of being in the world, and maybe you're thinking about going out and doing something. If you're feeling that positively, great. Your brain is like, "Ooh, it's going to be fun. We're going to run these programs. I know how it's going to work. We've done it before." If you're thinking about doing something and you've got your stomach is dropping and you're feeling anxious and you're worried and you're afraid and you notice that you're shutting down more and maybe you're freezing, that's a saying your brain's saying, "I would love to create a way of being here, but I really have so much emotional distress that's not moving through this healing process. We're going into fight or flight, and I can't get us back out, right? So I can't use this energy, this emotional energy, in any other way but fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn, survival mode, right?" And so that's where our brain is telling us that we're not. We can't. We're not using this emotional energy well, and that's where we get in there and we shift it over. We support it to flip over. The survival system is very responsive to safety signals that are delivered through the body, not safety signals by delivered through words in the mouth, right? "You're safe, calm down, what's your problem?" That's not how the survival system is not responsive to that. It's not a talk center, a reasoning center, a logic center, so it doesn't respond to that. But there are interventions we can use to send that safety signal to that part of the brain and influence it very quickly to shift over into fight or flight. It loves it. It's like, whew, this is so much easier, and that's how your whole mind body system is learning to take this energy, these different emotions, and use them for health and wellness, like we are designed to do. All this distress, all this anxiety, the worry, the dropping stomach. That dropping stomach is the body communicating that all this information about what's going on right now, and if your mind body system can get that to the top, they will have all the raw materials for building something amazing for you. They need to have that communication, and the survival system is that gatekeeper, whether it's going to be used for fight or flight or for health and wellness, right? And we want it choosing health and wellness, and we're going to support it to, "Oh, I see you're using this for fight or flight. Hey, buddy, you're safe." We want to send those safety signals and create that shift so that the energy is being used for health and wellness. The more times the mind body system is having success utilizing stomach distress as to create health and wellness, the more it will just start working on it. Like we're rebuilding that mind body connection with that stomach distress. That anxiety in your stomach is an energy. It's an electrical energy, and we can use that to grow. And that's what the design is. That's what we're supposed to be using this stuff for. We need to make these corrections. We're not supposed to be using this stuff for fight or flight unless our life is in danger, right? And then your brain is working fabulously on point, and we want those functions. We don't interrupt those. But a lot of what happens with anxiety disorders is the brain has learned things are dangerous that are not dangerous. It's not accurate. And we want to walk the brain through its process for learning what's really dangerous and what's really not. Right? And so that what we're doing here by taking the energies, we're running it through the processors and the analyzers up here, and they're going to say, "Oh, this isn't dangerous." They're going to make a new program and a new way of being with this energy, and they're going to drop it back into your subconscious programming. And so the next time you're in that situation, it's not going to flag as we're in danger. It's going to flag as, "Oh, here's that thing." It might flag as, "Oh, we really don't know how to do this yet, but it's not dangerous, but we don't know how to do it yet." Right? So the brain is still in process now of creating a really nice way of being for you. You can do that work for yourself. You can help your brain do that yourself, because the only skill required is flipping the brain from survival mode to healing and thriving mode. And that needs to happen a lot. There's 4 interventions I teach for this, because we have tons of interventions for this. Humans, you intuitively already have them. They might also have some negative consequences. They might be time consuming, like crying. Crying is fabulous, wonderful tool. I have cried myself out of an episode, OCD episode, one time. It took weeks. That's to me, as a healer, as a trauma therapist, that's too long to stay in an episode. So there's some other interventions that work faster and don't have negative side effects, or don't have any known side effects. There's one that does have some, so I really save that for the end, for farther along in treatment. But so I teach 3 of my favorite ones for free in a program that's called Interventions for Inner World Transformation. And these are ones if I invite you to try it out, but you can grab them and play with them and see if you can get your brain to shift from survival mode to regulated state. If you can do it once, your brain is, and you can do it twice and 3 times, but really even the first time tells us your survival system is responsive to that intervention, and it's receiving the safety signals it needs to shift into that regulated state. There are specific things you'll notice when that happens. You'll notice, let's say you're using it while your stomach is like, right? So you're using the intervention, and you should notice that stomach sensation should be lightening and loosening up, going back to a normal state. And you might notice new thoughts. You might notice more logic. You might notice solutions. Those are all top brain activities, and so that lets us know that we're using the energy not for survival mode, fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawn, which you're getting those because you're actually, or you're fawning, and so, but you're actually getting the higher brain states, the higher brain function, and so you're seeing signs of that. I teach all that in my training as well, what to look for. However, the 3 interventions I teach for this are emotional freedom techniques, thought-filled therapy, and energy medicine, right off the bat in that free program. But I teach the EFT very differently than it's traditionally taught, but not very differently, but a lot differently. And because we really want to help the body do the healing work the body wants to do, not the prefrontal cortex wants to do all the time. We want both skills. So, but if you can grab an intervention that does this, and I'm bringing those ones up, one, because I want to invite you to try them out, but emotional freedom techniques takes 13 seconds per round, 13 seconds. It might be, but let's say 30, if you're going to just be nice and slow with it. I'm not, I'm pretty quick with it. And that's a great pace for me. But the thought-filled therapy intervention I teach takes 2 minutes. So and it's like a huge sledgehammer to symptoms, right? And so this doesn't take a long time to make that switch, and the processing that takes place, right? All these emotions are running on an electrical. They're running through our body through electricity. And different energies. And so when we hold our brain over into a regulated state, that's for 30 seconds, and into that healing mode for 30 seconds, that's a lot of electricity that's running through the system, through the right tracks. And so we can see lots of transformation in a very short period of time, and resolve symptom after symptom after symptom. Sometimes there are bigger projects, sometimes there are less, but really you just keep doing this with very little skill, and you're going to notice tons of healing, and you can do this yourself. Now, I also, I've also developed a roadmap, right? So there's ways to do it in a guided way, but you really can do this to yourself. I really did this myself with overcoming my obsessive compulsive disorder, not some of my other stuff, which is, I'm going to talk about that right now. the different layers of what I've found in that work. So, but as far as how your body is using emotion and how your body is using different brain states, like survival mode versus healing and thriving, the accuracy of that's something you can absolutely do. And if that's all your disorder is made of, you can resolve your disorder, and you can do it very quickly, weeks. That does not take a long time. Now, the next layer of this is once, and this is where I start people. I start people at this layer, that I want the inner world to start using that energies really nicely. I want people nice and comfortable with their panic, with their worry. I want them to be pretty. I want them to build a level of mastery, and that happens pretty quickly, depending on the complexity of the trauma. So. Okay, now the next layer of this work is interpersonal, is between us and others. If you have relational trauma, you were raised by people with mental illnesses, addictions, parents who have a trauma history. If your family had a trauma during childhood that interrupted the relationship, the healthy development of the relationships of yourself as a child with your parents, with your grandparent, with your community. This is a different type of trauma that needs to be overcome. And we in there, we still have the inner world work we need to do, but now we also have the work between relationships, between us and other people. And so this is where we'll see lots of the social anxiety. This is where we will notice conflict avoidance. We'll notice excessive reassurance, clinging, separation anxieties. We'll notice lots of things here. This stuff, there's a lot of work you can do on your own, and you really, I'm going to use a big word here. It's 4 letters, but it's a big word. This one you need to do yourself. The more you do it yourself, the stronger you are, the higher your function is, and you can build that yourself with your bare hands. Seriously, literally, I cannot say that more clearly. And you can build it quickly, and your system needs it. The amount of work that's needed in this, of healing work, is a lot. This is pretty complex. If I can get people up to 2 hours a day of intervention use, which is a lot, but I'm trying to get this thing done, and your brain wants to do it 24 hours a day. So we're not doing that. But okay, so if I can get them up to that, we can resolve this in 2 to 6 months. We can heal a ton, and build a beautiful framework for continued growth, a new foundation for growth and wellness in from interpersonal trauma and from complex PTSD, complex relationship trauma, and that early developmental trauma. Really, during the time of your development, things were traumatic, or there was abuse or neglect, maybe not even intentionally, just parents didn't know how to meet specific needs. Right, so when we're here, you need to do your inner work, build your system, do that stuff, and work it. And then there's this interpersonal stuff. This stuff needs to be done in relationship. And so this one, you can't heal on your own. You can't sit in your room by yourself and do your healing work. You're going to need to do your inner work by yourself. You can sit in your room and do that by yourself. You have a lot of control there. And you can be at 80% in here by yourself, but there's going to be another 20% that you're actually going to need to be doing relational things. This is, and one of the challenges here is that with relationship trauma, is there's a lot of trauma that needs to be healed. That's a lot of interpersonal work. You can do all of that. However, there's stuff that needs to be built, and like trust. Right? That's something that needs to be your ability to trust. Now, that doesn't mean that you're dealing with trustworthy people. That means that you have the ability to trust. We need that in there. And we need that wired in. We need your brain to build that, right? But we want to be in relationships with people where that challenge where you get to cross the bridge of trust or not, and you stand on this side of the bridge saying, I'm not going over there, right? Great. That's exactly where we're going to go back into your cave and do the healing work, and we're going to come back out and we're going to stand in there and that bridge, and you need another person to do that with. Am I going to trust you? Am I going to take a risk? And if the answer is no, fabulous. That's what we're working on. And we're working on that in your inner world, right? Because when you have the opportunity to go cross that bridge, your whole stomach and your system and your shoulders, right? And your hands and everything's going to be expressing worry, all the past memories, right? There's going to be lots of flashbacks running, even if you're not mentally aware of them. Your body is aware of the flashbacks, but the last time we did this, and we're working through all that stuff. We're calming, we're soothing, we're shifting the nervous system into that regulated processing state so they can read all about our past and what we're afraid of and what we're worried about and figure out solutions for us and load them in and put them in. And then we're going to see what they did by going up to the bridge to trust again, right? And when you stand there, maybe you're less afraid, but you're like, you're a little wary now. But we're still building that. Now, maybe you take a step on there and your nervous system's like, and we're going to go back and we're going to work on it. Or maybe you're going to stand right there on the bridge all weirded out because your nervous system got you in a weird state. And you're going to use your interventions. You're going to shift all of this stuff over here. Now, I want you to see this is an entire book your body is talking about, just this little bit of crossing the bridge. But you don't need to know all about that. You just need to open the door and let the brain read the book. They are the book readers. You need to get out of here. That's not your business. So you need to let them read that book. Right? And so, but we need the relationships to flush up these functions that have not yet been smoothed out by your brain, have not yet been built in, wired into your nervous system, wired into your way of being, your programming. We need to help your brain build that. We build those sorts of things in by experience. The brain will build for you by experience. If you never go to the bridge, your brain says, oh, we don't even need that. You go to the bridge and you freak out and you stand there. Your brain is trying to get you away from the bridge. But now we're flipping from flight or fright, survival mode, over here to reading all the data and using all the emotions to figure out what the heck's going on here and getting accurate. And then and then it's going to help you build that ability. And then we're going to do it again. And your brain's going to be like, oh, by experiencing it a number of times, which happens in relationships, it's going to say, oh, we should probably build something for this because we got to cross this bridge. I can see over there on the other side what I want, but I have no way of getting there. Brains love this. This is your subconscious mind's area for play. But it can't get the work done if we're in fight or flight. That's not a growth. That's not a getting work done. That's a survive. And you could stand there in terror and survive the whole time. And you're going to feel that way. But we want more than that. We want your system to build us a way over there that's safe and that feels great and that expresses some mastery. We can help your brain create that, but you need relationship partners to be able to put you in that position where you can do that. So sometimes you can do that with your therapist. Sometimes you can do that with loved ones. There's a right place for you and you can do that with them. And still the majority of that work is on you. Okay, now, once we get this couple of relationships running right again, running healthily, and we've got some trust. I don't know, there's like a host of things people need, and I wish I would write them down. But the system always tells me, so I never write them down. I'm like waiting to hear, what haven't you built yet? Why can't you cross the bridge, right? And the nervous system will say, well, and people will say, and they'll say the words, and I'm like, okay, let's build it, right? So, I need a list. Okay. So, but whatever it is, maybe it's unworthiness. Maybe they haven't built in the worthiness yet. Maybe it's a lack of value of themselves. Maybe they haven't built in feeling wanted. There's some things in here that happen in intimate childhood situations that just have never happened for people that need to happen now. So it never happened, so their brain never built for it. So they're walking around the world without that ability, and they need that ability to have healthy relationships. This is a rude awakening in parenting when you're loving your kid and then you find out, whoa, I can't do this thing I need. Right? And that's this relation, that's the impact of relationship trauma. This, you need people, you need relationships to heal. Okay. The next layer, this is kind of tough. This is like tough work, but this is really doable, especially if you've got partners that will do this with you consensually and structurally. There's a process for this. This is a lot of what I'm doing in my couples work. I'm helping them heal relationship trauma, right? But they still have to do their own inner work to get to a place where they can support the other person or figure that stuff out. That's another video for another time. Okay, the next challenging layer of this, and this is the most challenging one for me, I find this is, I don't get a lot of people that need this specific work, and this has to do with generational patterns. And so this the healing the disorder that is based in the impact of generational trauma is a whole nother thing, because we're talking about a system, we're talking about legacy, we're talking about multiple layers, and deep subconscious programming that's like almost in the primal layer or in the DNA. But it's not just that. I don't find it challenging for that. I find it challenging because we're not just dealing with one-on-one relationship, we're dealing with one-on-one relationships in a family dynamic or a system, and then the dynamics of how everyone works together. And then you're the one in that dynamic, and maybe other participants don't want to be healing, right? They're like, whatever. So how do you overcome generational trauma? How do you shift generational dynamics when you're recovering from your own mental illness and your own interpersonal relationship dynamics, and now you've got a family system? That the generational trauma needs to come out of. This is often the case with when I have clients that come to me and we're healing, and then their children start some behaviors like their own disorder, or their children are starting to be suicidal, or their children are starting to present in relationships very passively or aggressively, and they're looking at this, and I'm like, well, it's, the generational pattern is working its way through the system. We need to help it finish. We need to get it out in a very safe way, because that stuff is in there, and if it's in there, it has to come out. All right. So these systems, you need relationships. So you cannot do this work on your own, but you can do the majority of the work on your own. You can do the 80%. So this is why it's so important to get equipped with your skills. This is why it's so important to really be the driver in your own healing journey. This is why it's important to get equipped and to just flip that, get your mind body, support your mind body system to do your healing work. And it doesn't take a long time. It is phenomenal. And so I really invite you, if you're interested in trying to work with your brain in a different way, to enroll in my free program, Inner World Transformation, Interventions for Inner World Transformation, and see if you can get a matching intervention. I'm very confident that you can. Out of those three, I think one, if not all, are going to be like, where has this been my whole life? So try those out, play with them, and then if you find a matching intervention, get to work. Support yourself. And if you want a process, I've also developed that a very strategic process for resolving disorders, challenges with interpersonal relationships, intergenerational relationships, and internal relationship in a very strategic way that I use with my clients and my coaching clients, and I've made available to the public. So if that interests you, by all means, that program is called Inner World Transformation. It also has the free program part in there. So if you just like, I'm in, do it, you'll get what you need in there and be able to start your journey now. So wonderful connecting with you. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.